Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson. You're watching the 5 Off 5 On Racing Show live. And I welcome everybody. I welcome our chat room buddies. I welcome our Facebook people. And I welcome those who are going to catch it during the week, following up in the archives. So I hope everybody had a good weekend. The snow that was supposed to hit us in the Northeast never came. Thank goodness. I'm so sick of snow. I am so sick of winter. But it's all good. And last week, I guess when we closed out, a lot of people had some things in the chat room that I missed, and I want to thank them for their kind words, especially talking about show 350 and the longevity. We've been here a long time making this happen, and it's all good. And we got some people that were here, and they're leaving and saying so long. So have a good night, everybody. It was nice seeing you. And it's, like I talk about the 350th anniversary show, we still do not have a firm date on that. We're trying to coordinate some things, and I welcome you to join in. And for those who would like to come see the show live, we have limited seating available for that show. And just let me know, and we'll make arrangements. But once the seats are gone, they're gone. We had a full house last year for this anniversary show, so I thank those who came out, and some people coming as far as Staten Island to be a part of that anniversary show. So we'll hopefully have a same type of crowd moving forward for show 350, 7+ years of talking racing on the 5 Off 5 On Racing Show here at Ultimate Media and Inravio.com. But tonight we're going to talk about the career of Rusty Wallace, the 1989 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup champion. We'll talk about him and his career, how it started, what he's doing now. We have results out of Thompson Motorsports Park for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, as well as the Valenti Modified Racing Series with the winner there. And we're going to kind of talk about a past ice raker, one that just came into my head today when they're talking about some bad weather, and we're going to talk about that for a little bit. We're going to come back with the Cup results and the Xfinity results out of the Texas Motor Speedway down in Texas. We'll come back and have some talk about the NHRA 4-wide racing at the Las Vegas track for the NHRA Nationals. And we're going to talk about some stuff, upcoming stuff that's going to happen in the show, some racing talk. And then we're going to wrap it up with our normal wrap-up. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about the career of Rusty Wallace, the 1989 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup champion. Rusty Wallace, Russell William Wallace Jr., born August 14, 1956 in Missouri. Prior to Wallace's NASCAR career, he raced in Florida, winning 2 local track championships in his quest to learn how to drive race cars. Wallace, he was from Missouri, won over 200 short track races before moving into the NASCAR ranks. In 1979, saw Wallace win the USAC Stock Car Rookie of the Year, finishing 3rd in the point standings behind legendary A.J. Foyt and Ray Darnell, I'm sorry. In 1981, Wallace was 2nd in the points in the USAC behind Joe Rudderman. We've all heard of him. 1983 saw Wallace win the ASA Championship, competing against future NASCAR stars Mark Martin Alan Kowicki, and Dick Trickle. His Cup debut was the Atlanta 500 in 1980, starting 7th and finishing a beautiful 2nd, driving Roger Penske's number 16. Over the next 3 years, Wallace made 9 starts, racing in the Cup Series part-time. And in NASCAR's top level, trying to break in back in those days was quite difficult. But in '84, Wallace was a full-time Cup driver, winning Rookie of the Year awards and finishing 14th in the points, driving the '88 car for Cliff Stewart. Wallace in '85 was still driving for Cliff Stewart with the number 2 car now as he switched to the number 2 car. Then in '86, Wallace moved to the 27 car owned by Raymond Beadle. First win was at Bristol and then a win at Martinsville. He was the short track king back in those days. In '86, he was 6th in the points. 1987, he secured a big sponsor, Kodiak Tobacco, and winning at Watkins Glen and Riverside in California and finishing 5th in the final point standings. 1988 saw Wallace with 6 wins, 4 of which came in the last 5 races of the season, but coming up just short in the final point standings to Bill Elliott by a mere 24 points. The championship season, 1989, with legendary crew chief Barry Dotson. 1990 saw a new sponsor, Miller Genuine Draft. 1991, Wallace and Miller moved to Penske. That sponsorship moved with Rusty Wallace over to Penske. And in 1993, other than the 1989 championship, this was Wallace's best season as Wallace won 10 of the 30 races he entered. In 1996, Miller Genuine Draft sponsorship became Miller Beer. In 1997, the Miller Beer logo changed to Miller Lite. In 2000, Wallace won his 50th Cup race at Bristol in Tennessee, and then Wallace won his 50th, and I'm sorry, his final race, sorry about that, folks, Cup race, his 55th at Martinsville in 2004. He also announced that 2005 would be his final season. Wallace thought about running part-time in 2006 and beyond. However, he had signed a broadcasting contract which forbid Wallace from driving while he was announcing. Now, Wallace was also a very, very fierce rival of the late Dale Earnhardt Sr., and their legendary battles on and off the track were something to speak of. In fact, in one of my first trips to Daytona, after what they called them the twin 125s back then, Rusty and Dale were beating and banging each other, and I was on pit road. I was watching from pit road that event, and the race was over, and I figured, all right, I'm going to go over into the garage and see what's happening. With that, I see Dale Earnhardt get out of his race car and briskly walk through the garage area. I knew he was going to talk to somebody, so I kind of followed along just to see where he was headed. And he walked into the hauler of Rusty Wallace in his car. He walked in and within 10 seconds walked out, and following behind him were people carrying Rusty Wallace out. Apparently, Dale decked him. I don't remember what happened on the racetrack because I wasn't watching that part of the race, but something must have happened. And I'll tell you what, Rusty Wallace and Dale were fierce competitors on and off the track, but I'll tell you what, they were always there for each other. Now, his broadcasting career, January 2006, Wallace signs a deal with ESPN and ABC to cover auto racing events. His first covered event was the Indianapolis 500. And coming off of turn 4 for the final checker, Rusty Wallace made a comment, coming off the 4th turn here at Daytona is you want to be in second and slingshot by. And it was just something that came out because he was at Indy, not Daytona. It was kind of funny, and he got kind of ribbed about it over the years for doing that. But NASCAR decided, let's see if we can work a deal and get him to announce our races. So he became joining the broadcast team for the NASCAR Cup races. Happened in 2007. Rusty Wallace was owner and operator of Rusty Wallace Racing, which fielded the car number 62, driven by Michael Annett, and also the car 66, driven by his son, Stephen. And that was an interesting setup. The team wasn't running well. The team wasn't keeping sponsors. And finally, Rusty Wallace Racing broke up. Wallace has two brothers, Kenny and Mike, who also raced in NASCAR's Top Series. And Wallace and his wife, Pam, have 3 children, including Stephen. They also have an older son, Greg, and a daughter, Katie. Wallace built and still owns Iowa Speedway in Iowa, a racetrack that I have worked a handful of races at. It is literally in the middle of nowhere, and it was and still is a beautiful facility. Wallace's career includes a trip to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Also, he had 26 seasons in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series with 55 wins, 1 championship, earning close to $50 million in his career. He had 42 starts in the Xfinity Series with no wins. Again, NASCAR Hall of Fame 2013, the International Motorsports Hall of Fame also in 2013, the Motorsports Hall of Fame in 2014, and the National Motorsports Press Association Hall of Fame, and that was in 2011. Rusty Wallace he's from that era throughout the 80s where it was tough to qualify. 50 cars plus were vying for 43 spots, and back in those days, it was the competition was so equal. It was tough to qualify. It was tough to run up front. It was tough to be a winner. And Rusty Wallace was one of those guys. He was just consistent with his top 10s, his top 5s, and which gave him that championship. And he had a couple of runner-up series seasons, and won from there. The Miller brand is still a part of the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup with Brad Keselowski behind the wheel of that car. And you wonder how these things, occur and how they start. Well, briefly, when Wallace was signed with the Miller brand and running for the other team, when that ended and he went over to Penske, the deal was in 1990 that whoever won the championship, Miller wanted to sponsor, thus Rusty Wallace. So when he moved to the other team, the sponsorship came with him. And so did the car number, which kind of doesn't happen often because the car owner wants to keep that number for the points, because the way provisionals worked back then, if you didn't qualify, the top 38 qualified in time, then there was 5 provisionals. A provisional is you get into the race no matter how poorly you may have qualified. And it was the next 2 drivers in owner points, driver points, who did not qualify and were eligible, so they got in. Then it was 2 owners who were the next 2 in line in owner points. They got in, and the 5th provisional went also to the owner, a 3rd owner. If that was not taken or not needed, it went to the next or the 3rd next driver who did not qualify. Now with the charter system and the top 36 in the charter, or the 36 charter teams get in automatically, it becomes, I really think qualifying is a waste of time now, because they're only filling 4 teams or 4 cars. Why have everybody go through the motion to qualify, if you ask me? Maybe they should just have those guys have like a heat race to pick their position. I don't know. I just don't like the way this, you're a charter team, you're in, thing is, and think about this, folks, there's only maybe, I don't know, 25 different teams when you break it down, because there's a lot of multi-car teams. Stuart Haas has 4, Hendrick with 4, and Penske with 3. When you add that up, Joe Gibbs, when you take any one of those owners out of the equation, you're barely going to have 35 cars or 30 cars. So did the charter system help or did it hurt? I don't know. But I know back in the day, you had to qualify, and sometimes it was tough. And back in the 70s and in the 60s, you qualified 2 days. The first day was to pick the pole. The second day was to pick the rest of the field. And you got an award for being the fastest on the second day of qualifying, which I don't know. I just don't understand how some of these things work. But anyway, that's the career of Rusty Wallace. I think he does a fine job in the announcer's booth, for the broadcast TV. You're starting to see a lot of drivers going. Jeff Gordon, Michael Waltrip, Darrell Waltrip. I know a lot of people aren't happy with the Waltrips in the booth, but you know what? The knowledge that these guys have, like them, love them, hate them, don't care either way, they still bring a lot of knowledge to the sport, to the fans. And let's face it, a lot of people who watch it on TV, they're not die-hard fans. Yeah, there's some of us that are, but some people, they're flipping channels on a Sunday afternoon. Oh, let's watch the race for a little while. And they're getting the knowledge that maybe wasn't out there years ago, back in the old wide world of sports days, when, they had a 90-minute show, and they'd show you like 20 minutes of a 4-hour event. And they would just show you the crashes and maybe the start and some crashes and maybe a good solid pass, maybe some pit road action, and then the last, 15 laps or so. And the announcing was just, it was who, what, when, and where. There was no explanation. They tried to make it exciting. I can remember Keith Jackson making it exciting. Will they make it on fuel? Because it really wasn't exciting when you're not really watching the whole race. But anyway, that's how it goes down. And Rusty Wallace, again, one of those guys. I was never really a big Rusty Wallace fan. However, he was a tough competitor. He could make it happen. And and 22 figure 8, you hit the nail right on the head. Unlike today's drivers, Rusty knew how to build a car and set up a car and go race it. And I'll tell you what, and I've said this, when it comes to officiating and running racetracks, and the late Walt Edsel kind of instilled this into my head. If you want to be an official, hopefully you've built them, you've raced them, you've wrecked them, you put them back together, and you race them again. Because if you've done that, you speak the driver's language, you understand their frustrations, and you understand that when they come up screaming that somebody just took them out or wrecked them or not, they're not screaming at you, they're screaming at the situation. And some of these, and I'm going to say this, some of these spoiled kids today that are racing, not only in the top levels, but in the weekly racing series, it's daddy and mommy's money, and and if they get bumped or pushed or shoved a little bit and they get a little scratched, they're ready to go fighting. And when the car gets destroyed, they get out, they take off the helmet, they take off the hands, and they go into their motorhome, or they go in their car and go home. And because they know next week somebody's money is going to pay to put it back together. And these young guys today, I don't think they could do that. I just don't think they can. So anyway, we're going to take a break, and we come back. We're going to talk about some of the stuff that went on in the Thompson Motorsports Park with the Icebreaker and the second event of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tours 2018 season when we come back.
Hey, what's up? Oh, I was going to say what's up for some reason. Hey, we're Set It Up, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Yes, 22 figure WJ, my good buddy, was a big Waltrip fan. Not so much Michael, but the old DW. And you know, it's funny. I remember when Michael Waltrip was on Dancing with the Stars. I spoke about it here, and WJ got the big letters in the bold type and said, "What does that have to do with racing?" I'll tell you what, I had a lot of good times with my old buddy WJ, a lot of good memories, and like I said last week, when show 350 airs, he will be there. He will be there. You will see him, albeit in a picture probably, but he will be here, and he'll always be here for that show. Anyway, the NASCAR Whelen Modified Series went to the Thompson Motorsports Park in Connecticut this past weekend for the Icebreaker, the annual Icebreaker, although that used to be the first event for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. They've started their season, the last couple of seasons, at the Myrtle Beach Speedway in South Carolina. And with the new ownership, I guess, or the new running of the facility by third generation Honigs, Big Don Honig's grandchildren running the race, or grandsons, running the facility now, making it into a road course, you know, preserving the oval for select events and some weekly racing. But the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour was there this weekend with Justin Bonsignore taking on a win in the second event of the year with Craig Lutz, second. Rowen Pennick finished in third. Ryan Preece flew from Texas, or actually flew from Texas to make the event on Sunday to run the modified. Matt Swanson was fifth. We got Doug Colby in sixth. Rob Summers seventh. Chase Dowling was eighth. Bobby Santos the third, ninth, and Timmy Solomino rounding out the top 10. Pole sitter Ronnie Williams finished 19th after a crash late in the race, and over 1/3 of the race was run under caution. 11 cautions for 56 laps of the 150-lap scheduled event, which when you think about that, that is a lot of caution laps. A third, more than a third. And I'm going to kind of talk about, having been a race director working the tower at some of the touring events, people are going to say, why is it so many? And when you say 11 cautions for 56 laps, I mean, the average caution was 5+ laps. Here's how that happens. You hit the button, yellow, or you announce it. Put it out, Mr. Flagman, accident, turn 2. So by the time they come around again and the caution car picks them up, that's a lap. Now, You open pit road, maybe the second time by, maybe the third. Lead lap cars pit the first lap, cars pit the next lap. And there's a lap to make sure the field is off, or one to go at the line. You just did 5 laps. That's without any cleanup. Now add some cleanup into that, boom. That's going to add another lap or 2. A fluid spill is going to add another lap or 2. Can you have a caution that's only a couple of laps? Probably not, especially on a track half mile or smaller. You're not going to do that. Or in the case of Thompson, 0.625 or smaller. Because what happens is a series of steps you have to go through. There's no such thing as a guy spins. All right, put it out. All right, he's going. Okay. Put the field in order, want to go with the line. They don't do that because people are going to pit. There's a caution. You got to wait for it. And I never kind of understood that, but that's how it's done. So when you see events like this, and then you look at the average speed was like something like 64 miles an hour. And as one of our viewers used to say, I could sit on my front step and watch the cars drive down the street in front of me going 60 miles an hour. It's not fun. Yeah, but the way that's determined, because they're still on the green going 120, 130 miles an hour at a Thompson, and averaging probably 100 miles an hour because you slow down a lot in the corners. But when you come at the end of that straightaway, right before you lift, you're probably about $1.25. Maybe a little more, a little less, depending on who you are. So when you take the time that it took to run the race times the total miles, that's how you come up with the 62 or 64 miles per hour average speed. Now it goes by time and distance. It's simple math, folks. When you look at that, you're like, wow, that was a pretty slow race. Yeah, when you're under caution going 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, because caution speed and pit road speed is usually the same. It just makes, on paper, for a boring, people look at, oh, they're just riding around, because people, they look for that kind of stuff. And I think that's one of the things that doesn't need to be in the final stand, in the final box score of the race, how fast they won. But it's just one of those things. And speaking of one of those things, before I get to that, I want to finish up on Thompson. Long Island's Ken Hagee withdrew from the event, and I was unable to determine why he withdrew, but I'm not sure if they would have started him or not, because I believe there was only supposed to be 36 starters or 30, something like that, and he was the one odd guy out. So it's kind of interesting to see that. The Valente Modified Series was also at the Thompson Motorsports Park with Rowen Pennick back in the seat after having surgery this off-season, missing the first event at Myrtle Beach. He finished first, and I think we have a shot of Rowen. Rowen Pennick is also a modified tour guy in NASCAR. And when you look at the drivers that are running in this Valente Modified Series, many of the names in that series were former NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour regulars. And in talking to some of them, when you talk to some of those guys, it's money. It's the cost. It's the cost to go. It's the cost. These 3-day shows, and I've said this before, when they got to get there Friday, and they do practice and qualifying Saturday, that little pit party thing Sunday and race Sunday, it's a long weekend. And the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour teams, they're not cup guys on a salary. They're not Xfinity guys who get paid on the weekends. They're working guys and gals who, they need to take off for these events. And with the Valente Modified Racing Series, it's one day. All right, we're racing Saturday, we're coming Saturday morning, unload, check, practice, qualify, race, go home. There's no reason why the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour cannot do that. And this is one of the things that Phil Kurz from Wheeling Engineering, who I heard was walking around the garage area, shaking hands, kissing babies, and welcoming all the teams and people saying hello to him after he had his brain surgery in the off season. I'm sure it was good to see him. I can talk with Phil every once in a while via electronic means, and he was very excited to get back into the racing. So Rowen Pennick, a tour regular, driving the Bowler Engineering number 3, BRE as it's called. Good to see him back. He had some back surgery, so that's why he missed Myrtle Beach, and I'm sure it's still a little sore. So doesn't know when he hurt it, doesn't know how he hurt it. He just knows that he hurt it and it needed to be fixed. So Rowen Pennick, one of those good guys, and his dad, Mark, and his mom, great people, and it's the Tour family. And I'll tell you what, and that's what they are. It's a family that is there week in, week out, and people you could talk to, people you could say hello to, people you can grab a beverage from throughout the day, or grab a snack during the day, or whatever. But most of the teams are like that. So good to see Rowen back. I happen to be a fan of Rowen. I just like his style. He's intense. He wants to make it happen, and it's all good. So anyway, that's what's going on there. But I want to share a little story about the icebreaker. 2003, real quick. My first event as a NASCAR Wheeling Modified Race Director. The week prior, it rained, and it was cold, and it was nasty, and they could not get the event on. They could not make it happen. So they had to run it the following week. So I go back up the following week. Now, mind you, I know, like, of all the officials, one guy. I know one guy. And I check into the hotel, and I'm trying to figure out why we're staying in a hotel in Massachusetts instead of the 26 hotels I passed on 395 to go up to, and passing the exit for the Thompson Motor Speedway, as it was called, or Thompson Speedway back then. And I walk into the hotel, and there's old man Mr. Bill Bryce, who I knew from the Ice of Speedway days. So I felt like I knew somebody, and then some of the other guys who remembered me from being the head guy at Riverhead. So I felt comfortable. But the next day, it was so cold. When we got to the racetrack, it was cold. It was damp. It was misty. I couldn't get warm. I just couldn't get warm. And they ran this race in this thing, and then a little reminder that here I was in the cold. There were 39 cars, tour cars, in the pit area. I believe we were starting. I think we were starting 32 or something like that. So some guys went home, unfortunately, and despite the frigid cold, over 8,000 fans filled the stands and braved that occasional mist and constant threat of rain. And Ed Flemke Jr. went on to win the event, pocketing close to $8,000 for the win. And this race doesn't pay that now, except with the help of Wheeling Engineering, who guarantees a certain payout. But the last few years, that race did not pay that. It was a couple of thousand short of the 8,000. And I go back to that event because I didn't know what I was doing. The only thing I knew about modifieds was they raced before me at Riverhead Raceway, and I normally didn't watch the modifieds because I was getting ready to get online and strap in. So I went there, and I'm thinking this race is getting canceled. It's not. He's not going to cancel it 2 weeks in a row because we got Stafford coming up for their spring sizzler, so that ain't happening. And I can remember meeting Mr. Honig Sunday after the event because he would always come down and say, hey, thanks, nice show. And then I get to meet this gentleman. And I said, wow. I said, I'll never forget this. This is the first time he said it to me, and it wasn't the last. I said, Mr. Honig, I can't believe that. You had 8,000 people here. The place looked packed. It was a threat of rain all day. It was cold. It was misty. It was just miserable. And he said to me, I lost $200,000 today. And I looked at him. I'm trying to figure out how. You know, he had 1,500 cars in the pits. The pit fee was $75, whether you went 1 day or 3. And there was 8,000 people in the stands at like $60 a head. And I went, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, I was expected to make 1.5 million. I only made 1.3 today. And I'll never forget that. So in his head, he lost 200,000. True story. And I'll tell you what, you can go and ask Dick Brooks. If you ever see him at a tour race or the Thompson Motorsports Park, you ask him, and that's what Donald Honig, if he planned on making X and he made it X minus 100, he lost 100. True story. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the results out of the Texas Motor Speedway down in Texas when we come back.
Hi, I'm Remington.
I'm Emerson.
And I'm Sebastian.
We're Palais Royale, and you're watching Inravio TV.
There we go.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Less Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop. 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi, this is Mike Jarecki from My Race News, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Hey, welcome back. Hey, before we go into the results out of Texas Motor Speedway, it was something I forgot to talk about when we were talking about the modifieds, because I got on a little tangent there, sorry. Todd Szegedy, former NASCAR Whelen Modified champion, I believe in 2003. According to RaceDayConnecticut.com, former Whelen Modified Tour champion Todd Szegedy will not return to short track racing in 2018. Szegedy, who is 41, has raced part-time the last 2 seasons, but although Szegedy has not mentioned retiring, he did say, I think it's probably it for me. Szegedy has instead opted to get involved with competitive biking, and he plans on doing a cross-country bike race, not on a motorcycle or pedaling, you know, a mountain bike type of thing. And Todd, I'll tell you, Todd was always in good physical condition, but he's getting older, as you had said to Race Day Connecticut. He's getting older. He doesn't have a fear of getting injured, because some people, you know, wonder, you know, you're racing, every time you strap in, anything can happen. And it's just time. Todd, one of the good guys in racing, and I'll tell you what, and anytime I talk about him on this show, or if I interview him, I always talk about how the ultimate professionalism that he showed me my first year as a race director, when the tech guy came over to me after he won an event and said, we got to DQ Todd Szegedy. So myself and our series director, Ed Cox, at the time said, what's the deal? He says his gear ratios were not what they were supposed to be. They were not in the range that you're allowed to have, because you get in the entry blank. The gear ratio can be, you know, let's say 461 to 473. For those who know racing, they know what I'm talking about. For those who don't, it will be a lot for me to explain right now. But I will one of these days explain some of the technical sides of the racing. But anyway, now we got to go summon Todd Szegedy and his crew chief into the hauler. and tell them to DQ. Now remember, I came from Long Island. I came out of Riverhead, and I had to deal with the Bertuccios and the Vigarolas and the Hartmans and all these crazy type people that, you know, that it would be insane that you have security waiting outside the office when you have to call them in and DQ them, you know, and there was many more, trust me. Downtown George Brown, TK Tommy Craft, these guys, I hated bringing them in the office because my office would either get rearranged, my drawers would be ripped out, my shelves would be knocked down, I'd be grabbed, my shirt would be ripped, and you know, anyway, I'm ready for this. I'm on the edge of the seat. I'm ready. I'm like, all right, we're going. We're gonna have a throwdown. And when Ed Cox said to him, we have to DQ you because of your gear ratio. And they looked at each other, and the crew chief said, okay. And I'm like, did I hear that right? I know I have a hearing problem. I'm saying to myself. And then Todd Szegedy says, I apologize. And out they went. I will never forget that professionalism for as long as I live. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people, you either like them or you don't. I have the ultimate respect for that man and that individual. And when people, you know, do something that wows me, I say it. And I'll say it again and again and again and again. So, Todd, I wish you well in your biking endeavors. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to watch you race and watch you win a championship and watch you kind of school some of the younger guys as well on what to do and what not to do. And at the rookie meetings, talking to rookies and telling them how to run the track, the lines to run, and things of that nature. So good luck, Todd. You're one of those good guys. Anyway, Texas Motor Speedway, down in Texas. I had the Cup teams there. We had the Xfinity. We're going to start with the Cup. The Cup race. And this track, I'll tell you what, this track was tough on tires. Tough on tires. But Kyle Busch was the winner there. Kevin Harvick second. Jamin McMurray third. Eric Jones was fourth. Ryan Blaney fifth. Joey Logano sixth. Kurt Busch was seventh. Darrell Wallace Jr., nice run for him at eighth. Clint Boyer ninth. And William Byron rounding out the top 10. Kyle Busch was also the pole sitter and went out to win. So nice run for Kyle. But I can tell you what, in watching this race, and I know there's a rule in the announcer's booth that you can't say one of the tires blew. You can't say that. It's in the deal. Believe me when I tell you. You cannot say blew a tire. Just like you can't say blow a motor either. You got to say lost the motor, engine problems, but in the tires, and you have to say cut a tire. Now, to run this mile and a half, which is very fast, it's a fast mile and a half, the camber setup on your tires is such that the left front is angled. And this is with the car going this way, it's angled, so that when they go into the corner, the patch, the rubber patch on the track, they have the full tire. But going into the corners, you know, this wheel, the right front, is getting beat up. A lot of heat going into it, to the point sometimes it melts the bead. It melts the bead and therefore makes the tire really soft, and sometimes the tires go down. And many cars bounced off the wall. Martin Truex Jr. for one was running a strong race, and bam, the tire cut, and you could hear when they had the in-car camera, you could hear the pop, or you could hear the effects of the cut of the tire. And you don't have a right front at 170 miles an hour. You're not turning. You're probably not turning at 30 miles an hour either, and popped into the wall. Many teams had that problem. And I don't know if the Goodyear needs to come up with a tougher tire, or NASCAR needs to kind of tweak the rules on how much angle could be in your front wheels. I don't know what the answer is there. I hate to over-officiate. I hate to overrule. When I say overrule, not go against them, but make rule after rule after rule just because. But tires were cutting a lot, and I believe only 9 or 10 cars finished on the lead lap. and a lot of the wrecks had to do with tire failure, or cut tires. I want to get in trouble. But anyway, congratulations to Kyle Busch on a fine run. We also have the Xfinity race was run there as well. And we have Ryan Blaney was the winner there, followed by Christopher Bell, Daniel Hemrick, former NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour competitor, third, Cole Custer, fourth, Ryan Preece, a top 5 NASCAR Whelen Modified competitor as well, a 2-time champion, and flew back to Thompson Motorsports Park in Connecticut after that race to run the modified. Mac Tift was 6th, Jamie McMurray 7th, Elliott Sadler 8th, Austin Cindric was 9th, and Spencer Gallagher rounding out the top 10. Now, talking about Texas Motor Speedway, and one of the things that I had trouble understanding over the years, Texas World Speedway was also in Texas. Ran all kinds of events there. You know, some Indy, some IRL, whatever. It ran some good races. And it was torn down to make Texas Motor Speedway. Some of that was the politics of the Bruton Smith Speedway Motorsports, Inc. group, that there was talk a few years back, of antitrust suits that NASCAR was running a monopoly and why can't I have racetracks too and all that kind of stuff. And I never understood why they did that. And it's the same reason why they closed North Wilkesboro. I'll tell you what, I loved watching racing on North Wilkesboro. It wasn't a cookie cutter racetrack. It was different. Like Dover's different, like Darlington's different, like Talladega's different, Daytona's different. They're all different. And they came out with these cookie cutter racetracks, Kansas, Chicagoland, Texas. Not good for the sport. And it could be why some of these events aren't selling out or getting the car counts they used to get. Now, granted, it was cold in Texas. And if you watched any of that race, people were in parkers and scarves and hats and gloves, and it was cold. And it was empty. And you know what? The promoters don't care it was empty. Those tickets were sold. And I say this all the time. People say, oh, there was nobody there. Now, and what I do is I look at it on a Friday or a Saturday, like I'm going to buy tickets. I go to the website. And you look at all like the white dots. The white dots on some of the websites and the tracks are where there's a seat available. And sometimes you're hard-pressed to find 2 together. And then you turn the race on, and there's nobody there. It's empty. Because people, they don't want to lose their tickets for whatever reason, and B, they can't afford to go because of the price gouging. And I say this every once in a while, the price gouging that goes on at some of these race events. That, you know, the restaurants in here, they have a special race weekend menu. Yeah, it's a little bit less for a lot more. Because, you know, when I was going to Daytona, I'd be there for like 8, 9, 10 days prior to the Daytona 500 because the New Smyrna, the qualifying, the Bud Shootout, and all that kind of stuff. And then the second week, I'd spend a few days in Orlando. And I had family that lived in the Daytona area. And I'd eat at, I don't want to give anybody a free commercial, but I'd eat at a restaurant, a name brand restaurant, during the Daytona race week, speed weeks as they call it. And I'd pay one price, and then I'd go the following week to go to the same place, and the price was a lot less. Now, come on, why do you got to do that? You know you're going to be full. Why do you got to rape the people? And the same thing with the hotels. Some of the hotels, especially in Daytona, I stayed at a place that's normally $79 a night because all you need is a bed and a shower when you go away to these races. You don't need no fancy stuff. And it's $79 or $89 a night, $99 a night maybe. And the weekend of the race, it's $500 a night. Are you kidding me? What's different? What's different? And they pull the plug on our ice machine. They say it's out of order. But they'll sell you bags of ice. Come on. Price gouge. And the only place that didn't do that was Martinsville Speedway. And that's because the Campbell family, you know, Clay Campbell is involved with the Chamber of Commerce. He talks to the people. And, you know, don't rape the people. Yeah, you want to charge a little bit of a bump up. That's fine, supply and demand. But you know what? Don't kill the people. Do not kill the people. And, you know, and when you look at that, you look back and you see, you know, that's one of the problems that NASCAR needed to address over the years and did not. Because the airlines, you know, oh, there's a race. And then depending on when you buy your ticket, yeah, I know the sooner you buy it, the cheaper it is. But it sometimes once the schedule's announced and they see that, bam, the prices go up. The hotels, boom, they jam it up. And some of them, I stayed at a place that there was a 5-night minimum, a 5-night minimum. And if you're only staying 4 nights, you still paid for the 5th one. You know, and then the poor guy who only needed, you know, 3, he paid for 2, and I don't know how many rooms got collected on for twice, but it's I don't know, it's just I just don't like that. I don't like price gouging. I just don't like it, and I don't know. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the NHRA that was in Vegas, and also have the Formula One results at the Bahrain Grand Prix when we come back.
Hey guys, this is Jibs from Ocean's 8, Alaska, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Russ Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
What's up, guys? This is Assuming We Survive, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm just answering some of our Facebook viewers. I see some new names on there that I don't normally see, so welcome. I think this Facebook Live thing is working out very well. And then we have our normal, everyday chat room people, Winnie and 22 Figure 8 and Schnugel, I think that is. I don't know who that is, but they're here all the time. So and Loverboo, one of my biggest fans, so it's all good. Anyway, NHRA was at Las Vegas for the 4 Wide Nationals. And they were held at this new facility outside of the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And the winners there, the top fuel winner, Steve Torrence. And that's Steve there in that picture. And there's a picture of his winning top fuel car will be coming up shortly. There it is. And I'll tell you what, I actually watched some of this. And I've seen 4 wide drag racing. And what that does, in my opinion, it cuts the time in half, because instead of running 2 at a time, you're running 4 at a time. So that was good. The funny car winner was J.R. Todd. The pro stock was Vincent Nobile. The top alcohol dragster was Joey Savagrande. And the top fuel funny car was Sean Beltmuller. So, and I'll tell you, I'm not a big drag racing fan, and I'll tell you why. Because back in the 70s, my buddy down the road, Mike Tefano, he was into that. And I think I helped him one time, you know, we were trying to get it going. And I went out to watch him. And once you lose, you're done. So, you know, he does this thing, boom, 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 gets online, lights go green, the tree, or the Christmas tree, and off he goes, you lose, okay, load it on the trail, let's go. I'm like, huh? Now, I was an ISO Speedway guy back in the 70s. I ran figure 8 stock cars, and I ran some bomber events, as they called them, which became street stocks. And, you know, you'd practice for, I don't know, 30, 40 laps on 2 separate practice sessions. And then you'd have your heat race, and I never qualified in the heat race. at ISIP, and then your 10-lap qualifying heat races, they call them. Then they had a 10-lap consolation race where they were taking 2. And I'll never forget, I started 33rd in the consi, they're taking 2. And my buddy was like, why are you even bothering? And I said, because I came here to race. And, you do 10 more laps, and I think I was lapped on like lap 3, but I was out there and I got my, I guess, 9 laps in because I was lapped. And I didn't understand this. Let's work all week on a car to race for 15 seconds. And so I never really took a love to drag racing, and I just, over the last couple of years watching on TV, it's a whole different experience. And I guess that's because the way we watched drag racing in the 70s on TV was, again, from the old Wide World of Sports TV show on ABC. And, basically they only showed like the top guys or the final guys in each class. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is boring. And then I actually went, another time to a drag race and sat, and the day was so long because of all the eliminations and stuff. So I was never really into drag racing. And I don't know, but I enjoy watching it now. I think it's amazing that they could do a quarter mile in just over 3 seconds. I can remember reading years ago the 10-second barrier, but now it's, these guys are flying. These guys are flying. Anyway, the Formula One, they had the Bahrain Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel out of Germany was the winner there. Valtteri Bottas was second. Lewis Hamilton third. Pierre Gasly was fourth. Kevin Magnussen was fifth. Nico Hulkenberg was sixth. Fernando Alonso seventh. Stoffel Vandoor was eighth. Marcus Ericsson was ninth. And Esteban Ocon rounded out the top 10. And forgive me for laughing, but I keep teasing my daughter Jessica that she should come down and be like a guest co-host once in a while, and I can let her like read off the results and stuff. And she's like, she did it once, and we had a great time. And I kind of blindsided her. I said, when we come back, we'll have the nationwide results. Get by Jessica. And we go to commercial. Dad, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I'm handing the paper, and she's sliding the back. All of a sudden, we go live. The lights come on, and she's reading the names, and she's fouling up the names, and I'm trying not to laugh. So today when I was getting ready, I said to my daughter, I says, come on, come down. I got the Formula One results. I'll let you do it. She goes, Dad, I'll just make up the names. And I'll say like the first guy and tell you, listen, you can find the results on Google. And I'm kind of cracking up. So when I was reading some of these names from these Formula One guys, I'm guessing. I'm reading it phonetically. So I'm hoping I'm getting it right, and I just couldn't help but to think of what my daughter Jessica did or said to me as I was leaving, and I've asked her to come. So it was fun. You got to have fun in life, and I do this because it's fun, and that's why most of us do what we do, because we do fun things, right? Isn't that what we do? Isn't that what we're here for, to enjoy life and enjoy our friends and family and loved ones and try to laugh every day? I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully. We all do our best, right, folks? We all do our best. Anyway, like I said, the short track season is coming upon us with the practice sessions and the testing and tuning, as some of the racetracks call test and tune, tech days. And for those of you, if your car's ready and your track has a tech day, bring it down and do it that day. Because opening night, it's going to be a circle jerk. It's going to be chaos, and you're going to miss practice time. And it's going to be a scramble, and you're going to be pushing your car all over the place. And if they have a tech day, go to it. Your tracks don't do that because they're looking to make money that day. They do that to make it easier for you, the competitor. And I've always said that, let's get it out that day. Because in the event something needs to be changed or fixed, you know what? You got a week or 2 or 3 to do it. And if you do it, let's say it's that day, you got to fix this, you're not running. You know what? You're not running. And I know officials sometimes, especially the tech guys, and especially when it comes to safety, one thing that I hated a competitor to say to me, I ran it like that last year. No, you didn't, all right? You didn't. And if you did, then somehow you got to bite at the tech guys. But we can't let you get it right with this time. And I always got that. No, you didn't. Come on. And then they get why are you breaking my chops? Well, you're breaking your chops because I don't want to see you get hurt. I want to see you get hurt like I did. You know, you don't want to see that. And some of these guys, they want to battle you in tech. And I'll tell you what, there's certain people in certain industries, you don't want to take the guy off. And here we go. The head tech guy at your racetrack, you don't want to take that guy off. The head official at a racetrack, you want to be his or her friend, and you don't want to tick off the UPS guy, because when he'll decide if you're not getting that package or getting it, all right? If you want to break his chops, that package might find its way back. It might, maybe the label will be torn off. You know, certain people you don't tick off. I'm going to say it again, the head tech guy, the head officials, and the UPS guy. Make friends with those three people, and life will be so much smoother. Trust me. I've done each of those things, and the guys who broke my shoes got it back somehow. Somehow. Not in a vindictive way, but quick story. I think I have 2 minutes left or something like that. I think I'm leaning. Hey, all right, real quick. I have a competitor, shows up at one of the tour races. He has a hole. I'm telling you, the hole was the counter. That big in his firewall. Tell him he's got to fix it. Comes back the following week. The hole's now this big. It's half the size. Dude, you got to fix it. You got to fix it by the next race. The next race is Mansfield, Ohio. It took like a week and a half to drive there. Not really, but it was a trip. Guy comes with the same hole that he had the first time. You're not racing, put on a trailer. It's not safe. That motor blows, stuff's going right into the driver's compartment. Oh, because he was an idiot about it. And he was an idiot about it the first time, the second time, the third time I wasn't accepting it. All right, work with me. Make an attempt to fix it, and I'll work with you. It's that simple. Anyway, I think we're going to wrap it up now. I want to thank everybody, again, for taking time out of your busy schedules to watch tonight. The chat room regulars, our new Facebook friends watching Facebook Live, and for the comments and the discussion and the banter back and forth. I really appreciate that, and it makes this even more fun. And for those of you who are going to watch it during the week, I thank you. I know you're watching it at work or on your lunch hour, and I thank you as well. But I'll tell you what, wherever your endeavors are going to bring you this week, please be safe. Please be careful. Tell somebody you love them. Give them a hug. And I want to thank my brother Mike and his girlfriend Andrea for making me a nice birthday dinner and for having the opportunity to spend that day with some loved ones. And 60, big 60, folks. I want to thank everybody here that said happy birthday. Again, God bless you all. Good night. God bless WJ. I missed the man. We'll see you all next week.
Inravio.com.